Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Final Tackle podcast. And we are joined by, honestly, she's a Jill of all trades, you could say. She's played almost every sport except soccer. Her name's Renee Targett. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, no worries. So let's get started. The elephant in the room, because you're wearing Bears gear.
Yes.
You've signed with the Bears for the 2021 season. You played the first trial, not weekend just gone, but the weekend before. How was that?
It was great, actually. I did not trial because that was the same day as Opal Bowl for Gridiron. So I rushed from Opal Bowl down to the trial to go and support the girls. But it was really successful. There was some really positive points that came out of that day.
Oh, that's awesome. And you went down to the North Sydney Rebels, who also has a player from the North Sydney Bears team, Pierre Pritchard.
Yes.
What was that like? Did she play in the Bears or did she play in the Rebels game?
No, she played in the Rebels game. Absolute trooper. She deserves all the rap she can get because she deserved that win. I'm really happy for her, and I'm glad now that we can play in the same colours.
Exactly. And as I'm sure you've heard now, the WFLA over in America is definitely a big thing coming up. San Diego Tridents, Las Vegas Devils, I think they're called. Pierre herself is signed with the Tridents. Is that something you're going to try and aspire to?
I definitely wouldn't throw it off the table. If it was something that was an opportunity that was there, definitely, I would definitely take that.
Awesome. And what position do you play for the Raiders?
So I was mostly on defense. I played a bit of corner, linebacker, and also safety. And my love, I would say, would be to return. So special teams.
Kick return.
Yeah.
Also, you'll probably fit in well in the centers, maybe the wings for the Bears this year, do you reckon?
Yeah, I am trialling at hooker.
Oh, okay. Nita Maynard's position.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm hoping to trial at hooker and also half. They're kind of my loves within league.
Definitely, I watched the back end of the Bears season last year, and I reckon you definitely help complement Nita Maynard, whether you become the hooker or if you become in the halves, definitely be able to play off each other.
Definitely.
The Opal Bowl did happen this year. You played it was your first season in the Gridiron. What was it like going from literally your first game to the Opal Bowl, which to anyone who doesn't know is the more or less equivalent of the Super Bowl for the women's Gridiron in Australia?
Yeah, it was really great. I stepped into the team a couple of games in, and they were so welcoming. They welcomed me with open arms. They pretty much just accept anyone and love them for who they are.
Yep.
So it was really great. We just fostered a culture where we can just learn off each other and love each other and help each other reach peak performance, essentially.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Honestly, I love Gridiron regardless, so let's talk a bit about the fan side of things. Do you follow a NFL team and maybe a college football team, and if so, which ones?
I don't follow a college football team, but I do follow the Seahawks.
Okay, and why do you follow the Seahawks?
Kind of a similar thing to what's at Raiders. Their culture just seems like it's one step above the rest.
Yep.
And they just look like they're developing some really great stars.
Yeah, no, that's fair. They really are. Don't get me wrong, they didn't have a crash hot season this year, but it wasn't the Jets season or anything like that. So there's definitely, you can see something building over the next few years, and I definitely agree. I'm not a Seahawks fan, I'm a Packers fan, but as long as you're not a Tom Brady fan. Tom Brady
You've got to give him credit where credit is due.
Definitely. He is definitely, I don't know if he's the GOAT, but he is definitely top 2 quarterbacks of all time, in my opinion. Whether or not he gets the number 1 spot, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's definitely excellent at what he does.
Exactly. Example, as everyone saw this year, he went from the Patriots winning 6 rings with the Patriots to going to a team that hasn't made the Super Bowl since early 2000s and wins it for him, with them and for them.
Yeah, definitely. So you've got to give him credit.
Oh, you really do. Did you play any other sports as a kid growing up? Obviously, you said you play gridiron, play rugby league. Did you play union or soccer or anything you could get your hands on?
Pretty much. I started when I was 8 playing touch football, running around Peacoast Park. That was my home ground. And then from there, I went to union in high school, played a bit of representative union, and then from there got into gridiron back in 2016, 2017. And then that kind of led me to league.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's weird. And you've kind of more or less never looked back now. How long have you been playing in, you could say semi-professional in the Harvey Norman Women's Premiership? You played for the Bulldogs previously, now you're with the Bears. How long were you at the Bulldogs for?
So I was there. I've been at the Bulldogs for 2 years, but they was split. I was at Cabramatta for 1 year in between those 2 years.
Okay.
So this is I'm going into my 4th year now.
Wow. Damn, that'll be intense. And the Bears will be hungry for the win for this year because they went down in the grand final last year, the Central Coast Roosters.
Definitely.
So honestly, fingers crossed for the Bears and the team in general. I'll definitely be at as many games as I can be. This episode is brought to you by our proud sponsor, Gold Coast Trading Cards. They are an authorised TLA trading card dealer, and they are the NRL collector's choice. From box breaks to individual cards, they sell thousands of them from the 1960s up until recent 2020s and into the future 2021s coming out next year. Be sure to get all of your NRL trading card needs at Gold Coast Trading Cards.
Yeah, International Women's Day. They're holding a function, talking to sports people, and that's out at Fairfield Youth and Community Centre. Oh, wow. Yeah, there's another one also that I'll be at in Maryland, Chapel Youth Off the Streets, in a couple of weeks' time. Oh, yeah, wow. So really looking forward.
Well, I'll definitely put the links to those events for any, young girls or, even women that are aspiring, even like whether they're mums or not, just women in general, they can click those links. What are you looking forward to the most playing for the Bears in 2021?
Growth. Team culture. I think the team culture is great.
Oh, the culture there is amazing.
Yeah. They have a really great support staff, coaching staff, management. It's really professional there. I'm really looking forward to just being able to develop myself as a player and as a person.
Going up a level sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Maybe it might give you put you in the eyes of an NRLW coach, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility. So, I mean...
Okay, well, do you have a specific pre-game meal?
Not necessarily. I do oats and nuts and like dry fruit. Yeah, I do that every morning. So that's game day or not game day. And it really depends on the time of the day of when the game. You'll see me munching maybe about, as soon as I'm arriving to the field, I'll be eating like a full-on meal. Sometimes it's boiled eggs with sweet potato and veggies or something with rice and chicken, that kind of thing, yeah. Yeah,
nice. And obviously speaking of pre-game meals, do you have a pre-game routine or ritual that, like a certain way you put your socks on or sort of thing?
No, not necessarily. I do just like to go out and stand on the field. Yep. When I can, just barefoot, just do some like walking up and down, nothing too strenuous before the game, but just some gentle stretching, just getting bare feet in the grass, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, get some feel for the field that you're about to play on.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. That's a very different one. Like it's not weird or anything, but it's one that I've not heard before. Like I've heard the whole be the first one to the stadium or field that you're playing at. First there, last gone sort of thing. But that one's really interesting. I like that one.
Thank you.
So obviously we touched on a little bit your move to the Bears, but what was the decision, behind moving from the Bulldogs to the Bears?
Well, I had a great season at Bulldogs. I enjoyed it, and you just get this sense that it's time to move on and go somewhere else. And my manager and I had been in talks with Bears, and he told me that it would be a great move. And he said that for your development, I think they've got their heads screwed on and they're really professional, and I think they're really going to help you get to that next level that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And so far, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
No, that's good. That's really good to hear. What positives have you had so far, as you just mentioned, from being just in the camp and the preseason in general with the Bears?
I think the passion and the determination of all the girls, they really help you strive for more. And when you're in the trenches and you're doing that con that you really don't want to do, there's always someone there to say, hey, I got your back. Like, we're going to do this together. Even if you don't really feel like doing it, we're here to do it together. Because at the end of the day, you're on the field together. And if they put in the work now, they'll put in the work then.
Exactly. Yeah, like you wanting to be your best makes everyone else lift by wanting to be their best. For each other sort of thing. Yeah.
So when one of us achieves, we can all achieve.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And honestly, if that doesn't, in my opinion, describe the Bears women's team as if someone were to say, how would you describe it? It's one in, all in, basically.
Definitely.
Which team did you follow growing up as a kid?
I wouldn't say I followed a team per se, but Jonathan Thurston, he was my go-to person to follow. Yeah. Now I would say it's Damien Cook.
Okay.
I follow him now.
So hookers and halves, really.
Yeah, hookers and halves. Yeah, the position that I'm aspiring to aim for in higher levels of football.
Yeah, when you watch how they play their game, sort of thing.
Yeah, and how they manage themselves off the field with their teammates, all of that kind of stuff.
Okay, I was going to say, what's drawn you towards, Damien Cook? Obviously, minus the fact that he's the hooker, but compared to say Reid Mahoney or struggling to think of names in the NRL that are hookers right now, but those two, or Harry Grant sort of thing. Do you watch all of them, and you've gravitated towards Damien Cook?
Definitely. I would say when NRL season is on, I am probably glued to my couch Friday to Sunday watching all the games, no matter who's playing.
Yep.
And I do watch all of the hookers I try and watch the hookers and the halves, but there's just something about Damien Cook's professionalism and the way he conducts himself, I think is just a level above the rest.
Okay, and as you said, JT was the halves. Who's the current type of halves that you really enjoy watching? Would it be, Jerome Luai and Nathan Cleary from last year, or would it be like the Bunnies halves? Or who would it be for you at the moment?
Good that you point that out, actually, because I think Luai and Cleary, they were
pinnacle last year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they were peak.
And they complement each other in such great ways. So definitely them two from last year.
And who do you reckon you'll focus more? Obviously, as you said, you watch every game that you can, but do you think you'll more focus on the Panthers halves this year as well, going through the season like you would with Damien Cook for hookers?
I guess so. I mean, I'd like to watch a bit of the beginning, like the trials, and see how they're kind of faring along. And then I kind of just go along with how I feel about it, how I feel that like each of them are playing, and try and, I would analyse it a little bit, have a look and see, well, they did that really well, but then look at what this other person did. Yeah,
no, that's fair. And speaking of trials, you've got a Bears trial coming up next weekend.
Yes.
Who's that against, and are you going to be playing in it?
Yeah, so we are versing St. Mary's in the trial at St. Mary's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, I hope to be playing in it. Yeah, because fingers crossed. I haven't played in a trial yet, so I imagine they'll want me to get around.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
On the paddock and show what I can do.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'll be going up against you could say a new club, because St. Mary's have just launched a team for this year, for the first time for the Harvey Norman Women's Premiership. Jeez, that's a mouthful. So HNWP.
Yep.
And so, I mean, they've really impressed. Even though they lost their first trial game, they still impressed. They put 10 points on Wentworthville, or Wenty Magpies, anyone who, doesn't know Wentworthville. So what do you think you can expect in that game if you do get to play against St. Mary's?
Strong runners, some really strong runners. And I know that they've got some really smart footy players in their team.
Yeah.
So we're definitely watching out for those. But there's just some great athletes.
Yep. And there's also a former Bear in that team now, Josephine Majors.
Yes.
So
she has moved on over.
I don't know if she'll be playing in that trial because, again, team lists are yet to be decided. But if she does, then that'll be a really interesting game.
Definitely. It'd be good to get a hit out.
Oh, for sure. So, tangenting back to gridiron, sorry to anyone who's trying to keep up with this, conversation. We're floating between all the sports that you've played. So, you've also played nationally, representative honours for Australian gridiron, the Outback team. What was it like, getting the call up and then playing for Australia?
It's indescribable.
Yeah.
It really is indescribable. You just feel proud and also humble, but privileged at the same time.
Yep.
There's just so many emotions all in one, and you just feel great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great.
And which team did you go up against, or teams?
We came up against Canada.
Oh, wow.
We played Mexico, and...
Was that in Australia or over there?
No, so the championship was in Canada.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we had 3 games, and I'm having a brain fart. But we did have 3 games, and I know we versed...
well, obviously would have versed Canada regardless because it's in Canada.
Yeah, so, we had 2 different pools. So
okay.
we were lucky enough to come up against Canada, and then there was Brazil, and there was another one, and I can't
Mexico?
think of...
No?
I can't think of the other one.
Wow.
Yeah.
How'd you go in those games? Did you win them? Did you lose them? How'd it go?
No, we lost. There was a moment in our second game where we could have changed the momentum and made it to a semi. But unfortunately, it just didn't go our way that day.
That's fair.
Yeah, so, I mean, and it's really tough. It's really tough going up against countries where they live and breathe it.
Literally, they've been playing it their whole lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so difficult. But it was really great for us just to experience how they do things.
Yeah. No, that's for sure. And it would have definitely upped your level of game and how you play, because as they say, the old adage, to be the best, you've got to play against the best, So, and would have definitely upped your levels. You played a bit of AFL.
Yes.
With the Auburn Giants, which are affiliated to an extent with the GWS Giants. What was, again, the decision to play AFL, and what was it like?
A couple of friends, they just, said, come down, try it out, see how you go. And I just loved it.
Yep.
There's just something about football, all codes of football that it just...
The oval-shaped ball.
Yeah, that's it. Oval-shaped ball. Just, I love it. I love the running. I think the running was a big thing because the fields are quite large, and I was playing in the midfield a lot, so there's a lot of running in the midfield. And it helped me develop it all led to what I'm doing now. I mean, it helps me with kick technique and just like athleticism in general.
Yeah, for sure. And who was the biggest influence in your life that you've had in general regarding sports? It can be a player or even a person in your family and life.
I would say one of the most influential people in my life would be my dad.
Yeah.
I've heard of him playing sport. I don't really know about how to what extent or what he did. But he always just said, you do what you want to do.
Yeah.
You just strive and you just go and do it. So I guess that's kind of always in the back of my mind, and always doing that with him on my sleeve too.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Which coach in general throughout your so far career of multiple sports do you think you've benefited from the most? And if it's every single one for different reasons, what would be the different reasons with each coach?
Wow. Okay. One of the most influential would be my defense coach for Outback, Coach Stone. He's American, and he just has a lifetime of knowledge. He knew how to get the best out of me.
Yep.
And because, females respond differently to different ways of communication.
Yep.
So some girls you can scream at and say, what are you doing?
Yeah, and they'll be like, right, I got to go do that.
Yeah, whereas sometimes you need to take a more softer approach and say, hey, come to the side, we need to chat about this.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, instead of doing it that way, try doing this way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he was a really great communicator in that sense. Like he would do that for me and be able to pull out the best in me. Saying that though, I think every coach has an ability to pull out something.
Yeah.
They each have their own strengths where they, whether...
Some are like a good player manager, some are a good, in general sort of thing. And
definitely.
You think that Dan Stone was the great player manager sort of thing?
Yeah, he was really great in that sense, and he's just very smart.
Okay.
Very smart.
Which coach so far at the Bears is your favourite?
Ooh.
This will be a bit of a hot topic when this comes out.
He doesn't say much, but when he does...
Flo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you know?
I was just like, just by the sounds, because Flo's beloved at the club in general, not just amongst the players, but everyone loves Greg Florimo.
Yeah, he is, I would have to say, one of the most valuable people in that team. He's not the pioneer communicator in that sense where he's out the front screaming at everyone, telling everyone.
He's not.
He just sits in the background and then he says really valuable tidbits of information.
Exactly. Basically when he speaks, you listen.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
definitely.
Nah, that's awesome. North Sydney. You also played some brain fart. I was just going to say you just played for UNSW, but that's the Raiders team.
Yes.
Grassroots. What was it like growing up? No offense to females or just in general. What was it like growing up with seemingly nothing for women in sport? To growing up, through that, having to change sports because, certain rules you can't play after a certain age, to now being able to play in high elite sports, at the max level that you can so far. What's it been, seeing that progression of women's brain fart? Let's try again. What's it been like growing up from the grassroots and seeing the progression of women's professional sports? That's a better question.
I love watching women in sport. I think...
They're captivating, in all honesty.
Definitely. And I think it's got that raw essence at the moment, which hasn't been, I guess, facilitated yet in that way. And growing up, it's a little bit annoying that you don't have as many opportunities as there are now. But on the flip side of that, I am so happy that there are that many opportunities now. Yeah,
exactly. You're helping be that inspiration for young kids sort of thing.
Definitely. And just getting out there and showing the younger generation that, you can play sport. You can, if you think
you can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. If you think it, essentially, you can find a way to do what you want to do.
Exactly.
And I think that, having female role models and having especially sporting role models, it will really help, bridge that gap between I think I can do it and taking that action to doing it.
Yeah. Exactly. And other than Gridiron and League, as we know they're your favourites, etc., what would be your next favourite to watch?
Ooh, Next favourite to watch. I like all kinds of sport.
Yeah.
I do enjoy watching the UFC.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Who's your favourite fighters?
I can't say there's any one particular fighter. I just like
Just love it all.
channel surfing and
Yep.
just chuck it on and watch it. I think
Fair
their athleticism is something.
Oh, it's amazing.
Something fantastic.
It's
to
crazy.
watch.
Like the fitness levels that they've got to do. It's insane.
Definitely.
And that brings up a pretty good topic. For some reason, I'm brain farting, but I'm getting there with the HIA and
Yes.
head injuries and all that, because it's a very big thing in general in full contact sports.
Yes.
And what are your thoughts on the whole you got to do the assessment? I love that. I love the head injury assessment in any full contact sport, men's and women's.
Yeah.
And I believe that if someone fails the HIA sort of thing, even though it's not. I've found out recently it's not a pass-fail. It's a whether they think they can still compete and whatnot.
Yeah.
And if they can't, I believe it should be a mandatory maybe 1 to 2 weeks off. Because in the UFC, as you'll see, as soon as obviously it's a fight to the KO.
Yeah.
Right? And that person that gets KO'd is not allowed to have another fight for 3 months. So what are your thoughts on the NRL and, full contact sports in Australia thinking it's okay to, let a player come back a week after a knockout compared to the UFC?
I definitely think it has its disadvantages. Essentially, I feel like within yourself whether you're good enough or
go the next week.
feeling well enough to compete that next week. And
Yep.
I think if you're not able, if you can sit with yourself and you ask, can I bring my best to this week? And you say, no, you can't because of a HIA or because of
or even just feeling the after effects or
yeah,
whatever.
absolutely. Then you should be telling your sports trainers, I cannot do this.
Yeah, and speaking of, KOs and stuff, have you ever been knocked out in a sporting match? And if so, what were the immediate effects that, if you can remember, and what was it like, for the week afterwards?
I can't say I've been knocked out during a game. I feel like I know the after effects of having a slight concussion.
Yeah.
And it's not very fun.
No,
you don't feel 100%.
Yep.
A little bit foggy or...
I've had minor concussions from OzTag. I've gone run for the ball, whacked my head on the grass, and I've been fine for the rest of the game. Nothing, untoward. Get home, massive headache for 3 days, and I'm like, shit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's just really not pleasant. And there's nothing you can really do
Except give it time.
to make it subside. You just have to relax and rest it out.
Yeah.
There's really nothing else you can do.
No, exactly. And with COVID being a thing last year, and obviously this year, yes, but it's a bit lessened now with the vaccine coming out the last 2 days, etc. What did you do during obviously because you're a mad rugby league fan and mad sports fan, what did you do during that 10-week break
series?
of no footy and no nothing?
I'm not really fiction person, more like non-fiction, really into biographies and success, literature. And
okay, so you're a reader. Okay, what are your favourite book series?
Performers and how they have achieved that high performance and what their habits are and things like that.
Okay. Like biographies and stuff?
Yeah,
some
biographies,
notable biographies that you've read that you've either really gravitated towards or you've just really loved after reading?
I really did like Jonathan Thurston's biography. I would say that's probably my top one to have read.
So, do you have any advice for any, youngsters, young girls, women in general, just in general, people who've not, had a chance at professional sports and, how they could make it or, what things they may need to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's definitely not easy. So if you want the easy road, it's not the one to take. But if you are willing to work hard, and it's having the discipline to do so as well. Some days you don't want to do it. Some days you don't want to get out and go to the gym, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
It's getting there, and if you don't do maybe the extent to what you are supposed to do, it's being kind to yourself as well and doing a little bit less than maybe what you should have been doing.
Okay.
But it's just the consistency.
Yep.
Make it a part of your process and you will be able to get there.